Now, can I just press in for a second here? Because, well, and maybe I misread the book, but there was a moment in there, or maybe a couple of chapters, where the pastor is justifiably being confronted with the ways he was monstrous in the past.
Absolutely.
So it's not this like skimming over the surface, like, oh, I'm just going to forgive myself and I'm
big
good
deal.
to go.
Yeah.
Like part of the meaningful journey of reading that was kind of recognizing ways that I've been monstrous in the past. I remember sitting in the Panera for like 30 minutes just staring ahead, thinking of ways that I had
the ways you've
screwed up in the past. Now, but then is that the accuser saying that I'm not worthy? Or can it be the Holy Spirit reminding me like, hey, look, you have been wicked and monstrous in the past, but at the same time, you are worthy of love and I still love you. Can you kind of sort through that mess for me? I'm confused. I need help.
That's good. That's good. I think your perception's spot on, Bradley.
Oh, you want me to address that? I do understand, like as a child, before we had communion, we would have to examine ourselves. And what that seemed to be was an open door, a green light to just welcome the accuser to come pummel us.
Wow.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
It's another to stand before the judgment seat of Christ, which is the mercy seat of Christ, and do a fearless moral inventory, as the 12 steppers talk about it, in the presence of pure love.
Yeah.
And that pure love is a fire that must be far more thorough than the accuser. What the accuser wants to do is, well, one thing is to lead you into self-hate rather than on a redemptive path. But another thing the accuser does is overwhelms me so that I exit my fearless moral inventory and go into denial. So I would say up front, what we have, the upfront part is, who are we standing before? Who are we, in whose fire are we? And think about it like
I really like that.
Three boys in Daniel, where I enter the fiery furnace of truth with the Son of God. And he's the one holding my feet to the fire, but there's this clear sense that he's not burning my feet. He's burning off my attachments, my chains, the things that bind me. And that is utterly thorough. And so it's not like accusation and then love. It is that love itself is this intense examiner. And that means like surrendering to that process. I suppose you could confuse them. I suppose we did confuse them as young evangelicals, examining ourselves with the accuser.
Right.
But this feels different than that. Paul, do you have
and
a way to discern?
A lot of the accusation comes from our own set of presuppositions in terms of what we believe about the truth of our being. It's not like the accuser comes from outside. We're the accuser. We're sitting in the seat of judgment. We're saying we're unworthy of being loved, right? And so that accusation arises from inside. Here's the line. The unexposed is the unhealed. The unexposed is the unhealed. And the Holy Spirit has come to expose the world. The Greek word to convict is the word to expose. And when you hear a passage like, well, everything you've done in secret will be shouted from the rooftops, we, in our shame-based low view of ourselves, low view of humanity, we hear something like that as a promise of humiliation.
Yeah.
Like there'll be this video screen in heaven where everyone gets to watch back my life.
Big chick track, yeah. What it really is a promise of redemption, because the unexposed is the unhealed. And for you to have all of your crap shouted from the rooftops means you're free. You're free. Because as long as you keep it buried inside, it continues to work its poisons. And so the unexposed is the unhealed. And a lot of the work of the Holy Spirit is to expose. I think we're in a year, 2020 is a year of exposure of all kinds of crap that is below the surface, right? And suddenly we don't have the high-paced busyness that allows us to continue to escape from facing ourselves, right? But here's the other point. The fire of God is never against us. It is the fire that is opposed to everything in us that is not of love's kind, which is every lie and every delusion that we believe ourselves that prevents us from absolutely falling back into the arms and the embrace of relentless affection.
Wow.
Because that is the truth of God, which means so many things have got to be challenged in that journey.
We've got this exposure thing. I mean, there's such a dark version of it that looks like public humiliation that leads to cancel culture. That's not it. I think of it almost like Christ takes, you know how cameras used to work when you'd have a roll of film, and he just unrolls the whole thing.
Yeah.
And exposes it to the sunlight. And what does that do? It like washes it. It cleanses the images right off the thing, but it's
by light.
And so that's what Paul's talking about by freedom. Like Paul Young's been very explicit in his confession through the years from the front. And so it's like, that's why he's so free. He's got no secrets.